Well, hello, it's me, Phil Thatch, and every year my family and I go to Walt Disney World, and in today's video I'm going to talk about our day at Epcot. Normally we go to Epcot to ride rides and see shows and watch fireworks and all that kind of stuff, but I always try to sneak in a little bit of photography, and this year I decided to use my OM System ON1 Mark II camera, and I thought at Epcot I was going to do a lot of photography with my 8-25 f4 Pro lens. But what ended up happening is I took every single photograph at Epcot with my 40-150 f4 Pro lens. So let's talk about the photographs I made with that lens today. Here's a satellite image of the Epcot theme park, and there's so many things that you would think I would do with an 8-25 lens. But what ended up happening was I used the telephoto lens, the 40-150 lens, and the first shot I made was in the China Pavilion, which is right here. And we came here and I thought I was going to see about framing up a shot of this building right here. It's very beautiful. And it was daytime. I was thinking about coming back and doing a nighttime shot, but I was going to see what my composition might be like. And while I was working on it, Heather was sitting right here and she looked into this little pond and saw a frog. And I said, well, I've got to get a photograph of that. So I took the 8-25 off and I put the 40-150 on, and I never switched back. So here's that bullfrog. I'm pretty sure that's an American bullfrog there in the lily pads, and this is 150 millimeters, 1/1250th of a second. I'm wide open at f4, and I'm at the base ISO of 200 for this shot. So cute little frog. We see these all the time back home in Tennessee, or not all the time, but fairly regularly, and it was nice to see one there in the China Pavilion. My next photograph was in the Japan Pavilion, right over here. There's a show that they have periodically in the Japan Pavilion, and it's on the front porch of this building right here, and it's these people playing these huge Japanese drums. And while I already had a telephoto lens on, I decided I would make a photograph of these people while they played. And this lady was awesome. She was playing her drums, but she made sure to smile at me for a long time. And I just kept on shooting until I got a position with her drumsticks that I thought was cool. It looks like she's just standing there posing and not moving, but I promise you, she is actually playing the drums during this photograph. This is 72 millimeters, so that is 144 millimeters, I suppose, full frame equivalent. And this is at 1/800th of a second. I'm wide open at f4, and this is ISO 320. I'm not sure exactly where at Epcot I made this photograph because these are growing all over the place in several areas, just absolutely beautiful flowers. This is a 150 millimeter shot. I'm stopped down to f5.6, demonstrating the great minimum focus distance of the OM System 40-150 f4 Pro lens. This is 1/100th of a second, and I'm at the base ISO of 200. I like the little water droplets that you can see on these flowers. I think that's really cool. It kind of rained a little bit off and on this day. So the Epcot theme park, this is the parking lot, and the Epcot theme park is this huge area right here, just absolutely enormous. And there's so many things to photograph, but all the rest of the photographs in this video were made right here. Basically from here to here. And there's always white ibis in this area. People kind of eat in this area, and there's tables set up under these trees. And a lot of times people will feed these ibis, so they're there frequently. There is a sign saying do not feed the wildlife, and this is wildlife, but it's relatively tame because there's always people around, and quite often these people are feeding them. And it's interesting, so all the rest of the pictures are of the ibis, and the background, some of the time the background is the Rose and Crown pub over here in the Great Britain Pavilion. And other times the background is just the water or the grass. Sometimes it's the trunk of this tree. Sometimes it's the foliage over in this area. And sometimes the background is all the way across. Some of the pictures, the background is the USA Pavilion. Some of the pictures, the background is the Japan Pavilion. So without further ado, let me present to you the Ibis of Epcot. I'm always thrilled to photograph ibis, and I really love to photograph the ones at the Disney theme parks because you can get so close to them. This shot is not even got its entire beak in the shot, which I love. Huge eye in the picture. And this is only 111 millimeters. The lens goes all the way to 150. To get your full frame equivalent on this lens, you always multiply by 2 because this is a micro four thirds camera, the OM System OM1 Mark II that I'm using. So this is the equivalent of 222 millimeters on a full frame camera. This is 1/800th of a second. I'm wide open at f4, and this is ISO 160. Here's another shot of that same bird, which does have a little damage to the front of its beak. These are normally equally long on a white ibis. This is 81 millimeters. I've zoomed it back to get the whole head in on this shot. 1/800th of a second, f4, and ISO 250. And I've gone with kind of a high key sort of an edit on a lot of these photographs. I think it really makes the ibis look beautiful if you edit it kind of brightly, and it also shows the beautiful blue eye better with a bright edit. And I like the quality of the out of focus area. This plant in the background I think is absolutely beautiful in the background of this wide open shot. This is a different white ibis. You can tell because it doesn't have the damaged beak. This is 66 millimeters, 1/800th of a second, f4, and ISO 320. Beautiful bird and beautiful background. This is the water of the lake over here in the background. Now I believe this is the boat launch. There's a boat launch just to the left of the area I was at that actually takes a boat to the back of World Showcase to save a little bit of walking. I've never taken that boat. It's a friendship boat. I always just walk. This is 63 millimeters, 1/800th of a second, wide open at f4 and 400 ISO, and I just love the detail that you can get with this lens and that beautiful blue eye. Here's another up close ibis shot. This has the water in the background. This is 1/800th, 75 millimeters, so 150 millimeters full frame equivalent. This is wide open at f4 and 200 ISO. Plenty of detail in this one as well. My next ibis shot, this one, and I've got two pictures of this bird, has a little different looking eye. The pupil and the colored part of the eye are not as distinctly separated as they are on some of these birds. This one's 117 millimeters, 1/800th of a second, wide open at f4 and 200 ISO. There's a feather in the grass in the foreground here in case you're wondering what that is. This is a slightly subadult white ibis. They're brown when they're younger. This is 111 millimeters, 1/800th of a second, f4 and ISO 200. Lots and lots of detail in this beautiful bird. I think they're pretty when they're not all white, and I think they're pretty when they're all white. They're just pretty, and this is the lake in the background. This is a 47 millimeter shot of one of the white ibis walking by there in the grass with the lake in the background. 1/800th of a second, wide open at f4 and ISO 200. Now this is looking slightly to the left, and there's some bushes there, and I believe these purple flowers are the same purple flowers that I showed you a close-up of earlier in the video. This is 78 millimeters, 1/800th of a second, wide open at f4, and the ISO is 125. Same bird, same background, this time 78 millimeters, 1/800th of a second, f4 and ISO 100. I like the way the eye is a similar shade as the flowers in the background. Of course, the flowers are kind of lavender when you look at them up close, and these eyes are blue, but they complement each other in these shots. Here's an extreme close-up, and it's only 100 millimeters. Remember, this lens goes all the way to 150. In this shot, there's a huge tree trunk in the background, so it's a nice dark background. This is 1/400th of a second, f4 and ISO 320 of the beautiful white ibis. One more shot with the tree trunk in the background. I'm still at 1/400th. This one is 150 millimeters. Remember, this one was 100. This one is 150, f4, and ISO 320. Here's another white ibis that doesn't have a lot of contrast between where the colored part of the eye stops and the pupil begins. This could be the same bird as was in a previous shot. This is 106 millimeters. I like the beautiful background in this. 1/500th of a second for this one, f4 and ISO 400. And here's another shot of that same bird, but this one is zoomed all the way back to 50 millimeters. I could have zoomed it back to 40. And this is 1/500th f4 and ISO 400. Same bird, just a different amount of zooming on these two shots. And now we're looking over towards the right a little bit. That's the Rose and Crown restaurant over there in the Great Britain Pavilion. We're kind of closest to the Canada Pavilion is where we are. And this bird, it looks like it's fallen into the water and it's trying to dry off here on the handrail. This is a 45 millimeter shot, 1/400th of a second. I'm still wide open at f4, and my ISO on this one is 250. Here's another shot of that same bird, and I still have the Rose and Crown restaurant in the background as it's trying to maintain balance there on the handrail. I love these handrail shots. And this is 47 millimeters, 1/400th of a second, wide open at f4 and ISO 250. Here's another extreme close-up, but it's still only 135 on the millimeters and could go all the way to 150. This is 1/400th of a second, f4 and ISO 320. We've got the lake water as the background in this one. And now here's a white ibis in flight. This one is 140 millimeters. I'm at 1/5000th of a second for this one, trying to capture the bird in flight without too much blur. Wide open at f4, and my ISO is all the way up at 2500 for this one. This one's cropped quite a bit, so not as much detail in this one. Here's another ibis. This one's on the shore of the lake, 66 millimeters. I'm at 1/1000th of a second for this one, f4 and ISO 800. A couple more ibis in the background. And I believe this is that same ibis as it's hopping along. The background of this is the bottom of one of those torches that are all the way around the World Showcase Lagoon. And this is 90 millimeters, 1/1600th of a second, f4 and 2500 ISO. This is a juvenile white ibis, and they are not white when they're juveniles. And that is the Japan Pavilion all the way across the World Showcase Lagoon in the background. This is 56 millimeters, 1/250th of a second, f4 and ISO 400. Now we're back to an adult white ibis, but we still have the Japan Pavilion as our background. It was cool to have so many different backgrounds all in that one spot. 66 millimeters, 1/250th of a second, f4 and ISO 400. One more with the Japan Pavilion in the background and a beautiful white ibis on the handrail in the foreground. 66 millimeters for this one, 1/250th of a second, f4 and ISO 400. Pretty good bit of detail in this. This is one of my favorite shots of the day. This is the USA Pavilion in the background of this 70 millimeter shot with the white ibis stretching its wings there on the handrail. 1/250th of a second, f4 and ISO 400 on this one. Another ibis on the handrail. I believe that's the Rose and Crown restaurant on the right hand side in the background. 78 millimeters, 1/320th of a second, f4 and ISO 500 on this one. So there you have it, the White Ibis of Epcot. I hope you enjoyed this video and the photographs made with the OM System OM1 Mark II and the 40 to 150 f4 Pro lens. Stay tuned, my next video will be using that same equipment and making photographs from Disney's Animal Kingdom theme park. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.